Hello and welcome to Girls Across the Pond.
Welcome, welcome. We are a mother-daughter duo who chats a lot. I'm here, she's there, there being the UK, here being the US. And we get on the phone and chat a lot. And we thought, what fun would it be to do a podcast?
Make our conversations public.
Let's do it. You guys might love us, you might hate us, who knows, but I'm sure you'll have an opinion, so tell us about it. We just wanted to chat and say how we're doing.
I'm Joan. I'm 19 and I live in the UK. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I am not going to say my age.
Oh, I saw you don't have to. I was just introduce you. We're both co-hosts, so introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Ellen. Welcome. I'm the mom of the bunch. There's not much to say about me that we won't get into. If I say it right now, it's going to sound redundant when we get there. So, welcome.
We actually, so a little about this podcast. Obviously we're in two different locations, so we've been trying to figure out how to the best way to capture the podcast is and how to best suit it all. So you might be listening on a podcast streaming platform, Google Podcasts, Spotify, etc. Or you might be watching us over on our YouTube channel where you can see our faces and watch us have a conversation, which is just Girls Across the Pond on YouTube. Feel free to subscribe. But in light of us trying to figure everything out, this is our third time, I think, re-recording the first episode. But
yeah.
In trying to figure it out, we actually recorded episodes 2, 3, and 4 as well. So, and now we're re-recording episode 1. So there's like a weird time jump. So episodes 2, 3, and 4 are already pre-recorded. And now we're coming back to episode 1 now that we actually like kind of have the ropes down a little bit and reintroducing the podcast with, I guess, like firmer foundation.
Sounds good. It's funny because we have a lot of things in common, which I think a lot of mother-daughter combos do. There's a lot of stuff that you just sit and chat about all the time, same things. But what I find is interesting is we have a lot of differences, and a lot of that comes from just the fact that you're younger. You're going through college right now, which is such a fun time of life. I mean, there's so many doors opening in your life and new things, and you're experiencing things and meeting new friends, and doing that in a different country in and of itself is a fun topic of conversation. Things that you're experiencing and maybe things that, you know, people get to know you. And I know you said a number of times how people go, oh, you're from America. Do you have that from America? And it's almost at nauseum right now. You're like, yes, we have spoons and we have forks. We use them in America. Just things that you encounter, which are kind of funny. So I think our conversations, as the more that we've talked over the last, like the first semester you were there, we came across just so many things that were interesting, and we thought, let's do a podcast. Let's chat about that. That'd be really fun. I've got a lot of things buzzing me here, so I'm trying to get rid of all of my distractions. Sorry.
Something really nice about our banter, our chatting, our talks, is that we have like a lot in common and a lot of similar interests and like topics of discussion, but I feel like we both see the world in very different ways. So even though we're interested in like very similar things, we both have very different perspectives on them. So I just think it makes for an interesting conversation.
I know, and I'm just a new empty nester too, which is kind of fun. A lot of people I talk to tell me, oh, you should be sad, your kids are gone. I'm like, you know.
You're like, go.
I know, I was so happy when you guys left, not just because you left, I'm sad you're not in the house, but I'm
She's gone, yay!
I'm so happy that you're out finally experiencing the world and what you want to achieve in life, and going after your degree to get yourself, you know, your solid foundation. I'm so excited about that. It's wonderful, and it is nice to have a little extra time and money on our hands so we can now do things that we want to. Yesterday we spent time on an island, and it was great. Let's go to an island today. Okay, let's do it. So that's really fun. We just moved recently. which was another whole bit that we could talk about. But we bought a
You'll
second
hear
house.
about it. You'll hear about it in episode 2.
Which should come after this, but it's coming before it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just moved, so we just bought a second place to be snowbirds. But maybe we'll stay here. We don't know. We're experiencing a lot of interesting things where we're at, i.e., bugs and baby dinosaurs in the backyard, which is kind of fun. Also, just so let's get on with what we want to chat about. And I want to start with something that's a little controversial, and people may turn us out, but don't, because it's astrology. We want to chat about this.
Before you click off the podcast,
don't do it. We both, one of the things we agree on this is that horoscopes, like you might flip through a magazine, you see your horoscope and look down and those are bogus. People don't pay attention
absolute
to them.
BS. Yeah, no.
Just because you're a Leo doesn't mean you're going to fall in love this week. It's not true. only the Geminis are going to fall in love. No, I'm just kidding. No, my mother was an astrologer. She was a licensed astrologer, which I bet you didn't know that was a thing. She actually went to school and studied and got a license to study astrology. And so that was just an everyday thing around my house when I was growing up. And this was before there were computers, before there were apps and stuff. Obviously, it was back in the 1970s, so I think the only computer was the one that sent the man to the moon. But she learned how, she had books everywhere and would manually draw out people's charts. You've heard about charts of astrology, which is the really fascinating thing. And you can actually talk more about this than I can, because you're better with charts than I am. So why don't you take it?
Take charts. So the difference between, let's just first clarify the difference between astrology and horoscopes, because horoscopes involves astrology, but horoscopes is where you get I don't want to say the bogusness of astrology, but it's the part of astrology that I feel, in my opinion, turns people off to the idea of it, because it's that what you just read, like in a magazine, all Leos are going to meet their love life of this week. It's like the predictions that are like so not specific to just like a general group of people, where it's like, okay, well, anybody, that could apply to anybody. And also, like, there's a huge age range of millions of people, billions of people in the world. How is it all gonna, like, all Leos are gonna meet their love life this week? Like, no. So that's horoscopes, and those are like those predictions and like the claims and all that stuff. But astrology is just the actual zodiac part of it. So everybody has a chart, an astrology chart, and it's basically, in short, a screenshot of the sky from where you were when you were born. If you just like took the sky and just like screenshotted it.
Over the place where you were born.
Yeah, over the place you were born. So when take the sky and you divide it into 12 sections, like, this section is Capricorn, this section is Aquarius, and each planet, and also the sun and moon, because those aren't planets, but those two are also included, you chart where they are in those regions, and that is your chart. And you can also chart like what degree they are in each region and all this stuff, and that plays influence. So your sun sign, it's your most common sign. It's where the sun was in the chart when you were born. So if, like, for example, I'm an Aquarius, when you say like I'm an Aquarius, you're referring to your sun sign. It's the basic zodiac sign you have. So for me, because I'm an Aquarius, the sun was in the region of Aquarius when I was born, over where I was born. That's what it means. And I think it's like 2 degrees into Aquarius, because I was born on the cusp. So it's like barely in the Aquarius region. But that doesn't mean, there's a whole other, there's all the other planets too. So there's lots of other signs in other regions of the charts, and each of those plays a role on your personality as well, which is why, one of the many reasons why, but it's the same way if, like, let's take my best friend, for example. She's also an Aquarius. She's 2 days older than me. And our charts are the exact same besides 2 signs. Other than that, we have the exact same astrology chart. But we're still very different people, because those 2 signs there are big differences between us. So it's the same reason that's like, you have two Aquarians that are polar opposites. Well, one of them has a moon in Leo and the other one has a moon in Cancer. Those are going to be two different people because different planets play different roles, and that's the same reason, you can't just rely on one main quote-unquote zodiac sign.
Right. It's not a perfect study either. I mean, you could have two people born in the same hotel, the same hospital, one room apart. So their chart would be identical almost. But in fact, it would be identical. I can't imagine what would be different about it. But they could have completely different upbringings, which could,
of course,
which could totally affect on how they end up as a person. But the thing I enjoy about astrology, if I can say this, is that I tend to be really empathetic toward other people, and I want to know when I'm talking to somebody and having a conversation with them how they may or may not react and where they may be coming from and how to approach people in certain ways. And sometimes there's a lot of arguments that happen in life when people just go, I can't understand why somebody's reacting a certain way. And I often will stop and think, okay, well, they're a Taurus, and so that would, naturally they will react a certain way or whatever. And you can't just use the sun sign, but it certainly is a good indicator of how people will react to certain things. I know you've in the past been in different groups where you have like just a bunch of air signs and you guys are all functioning in your little typical air sign way.
In a little air sign bubble.
I can't. Yeah, I'm an earth sign, so I don't get air signs. But you guys are all functioning, and then all of a sudden, you throw a fire sign in there or a water sign or whatever, and it just
blows up,
explodes everything. Yeah, and yet knowing where people are coming from really does help the situation, and you can step back a bit and go, oh, okay, I get why things are happening, and rather than being mad at the person, you can just look at the situation and handle it a little differently. But that's what I like about astrology.
I think it's interesting, like I was saying earlier, how we're both interested in the same topics, but we have a very different mindset and approach to things. You just said, I'm very empathetic, so I like to understand how they're thinking. I'm not the same way.
And you rolled your eyes.
No, I didn't roll my eyes. I didn't, I swear. At least I didn't consciously roll my eyes. But I enjoy zodiacs and those charts, and this is why. I'm on the exact opposite side of the spectrum. I am not an empathetic person. I'll say this in episode 4 because we go into Myers-Briggs in episode 4, but I don't understand people on an emotional level. I'm kind of a robot. So I don't really understand that. And so understanding somebody else's zodiac sign or even Myers-Briggs type or just any sort of like basic personality, this is what my personality might look like, it helps me understand how they would see the world. So it's like me trying to be an empath and like, obviously it's not a crystal clear science, but if I know someone's a water sign, I can like get a general gauge for how they might look at a situation, and I can kind of understand not their emotions but their thinking, and I'm like, okay, I understand a little bit. Not everything, and I will still never be able to emotionally relate to you most likely, but I can at least understand a little bit. So that's why I enjoy it. I like to understand what other people are thinking. So
exactly. So we throughout this this podcast journey, if you will, we may dial back occasionally to zodiacs and things. You'll hear it, I'm sure, because we talk about it all the time. Why things happen, why people do things.
Plus, I think
why I do things.
If you're not getting like too absorbed in it, I mean, like it's one thing if you're like, oh my god, they're a Gemini, I never want to talk to them or something. Like that's one thing, and I would never go there. But if you're just like, oh yeah, so and so's a Gemini or something, you're like, oh, that's cool. That kind of matches their personality, and then you move on. Like, okay, there's no harm in that. That's just fun. So that's how I see it.
Well, I am an earth sign. I'm a Capricorn. And one of our big traits is organization, planning, the opposite of spontaneity. Don't ask me about spontaneous. I don't know how to do it. I have to organize it. It has to be color-coded, left justified, all in the same font, everything, I
feel like that's a female Capricorn thing.
Maybe. I don't know. It's me. And you are an air sign, very intelligent, very logical, very practical. And so with that, we transition to our topic of New Year's goals, New Year's resolutions, New Year's, let's get square one, which we both do. I love having New Year's goals every year. I don't do resolutions. I think they are setting you up for failure. I'm not a fan of failing, not my thing. And it also, I think if you set resolutions, you're going to give up. Everybody does. Who ever has been on December 31st going, woohoo, I made my resolution? I don't think that ever happens. Have you ever done that?
I used to set New Year's resolutions as a kid, and I remember, like, when I got to, like, the end of one year a couple times, I was like, yeah, I got pretty dang close and only missed, like, a couple days. But nice. I didn't do everything perfectly every day.
Exactly.
You know, it's inevitable. 365 days, the likelihood that you're going to mess up one of those days, very statistically low that you would get every day perfect. If you're trying to set a new habit suddenly, yeah, very unlikely.
Exactly. But we like to listen things. So we're both pretty goal oriented. So, you know, we've got a bunch of goals for this year. And for me, one of my biggest goals was to do more with you. And that's a little hard when you're 6,000 miles away from me. So part of that is I'm moving a little closer.
One time zone over.
One time zone. I'm in the East Coast time zone. And the other thing was to do a podcast with you because you wanted to do a podcast. And you've actually got another one on the back burner that you're working on.
I am. I'm working on the best friend that I mentioned, whose zodiac sign is like our charts are the exact same kind of thing. She and I are working on a true crime podcast because I really like horror and true crime and spooky stuff. I was literally just watching Hannibal before I came in here with my flatmate. And I was like, oh yeah, this is my favorite gore scene from this show. Like when we got to it, I swear that was a conversation I had like 20 minutes ago. But she and I are working on a true crime podcast. So as soon as those episodes start airing, which will be after all of these air, I will be sure to let you know so you guys can go listen to it if you also are a true crime lover.
Nice. Well, hopefully this will be a fun thing for us, I'm hoping. Even if we don't have very many people viewing it, I think it'd be fun. Yeah. And more to us doing things together like you've wanted to. We are pen paling with each other now because I like to pen pal. I have quite a few pen pals across the world. So we've officially started pen paling with each other and we're sending each other posts. Yes, and I have to rewrite my letter because my last letter didn't get to you, you said. Did it ever come?
I still haven't received it. I sent you out a Mother's Day letter. So it'll be on its way. Yay. It's shipped. So be expecting that. I sent it to where you are now.
Nice. So yeah. So how do you deal with your resolutions or goals or whatever you want to call them? Let's call them goals. You call them habits, don't you?
I do. I said this the first couple times we recorded this episode, and I'll say it again because I think it's a great mindset thing. But I don't like to focus on necessarily resolutions or goals. Yes, goals. But more so I like to make the idea of New Year's habits, because if you have an overall goal to do something, how to achieve the goal, in my opinion, is to make a habit of it. Because if you make something a habit, you're so used to doing it that it's hard to stop because it's a habit. Practicing healthy habits and trying to stop unhealthy habits, that whole thing. So I had quite a few, but one of them was like my goal was to do more with my YouTube channel. I have a music YouTube channel called Planet Head. Feel free to subscribe, where I post music-related content, some covers, some originals, because I'm a music production major. I actually didn't say that at the beginning, but I'm a music production major. And so one of my goals for this year was to just be more active on it. I wanted to reach the point of monetization, which is 1,000 subscribers and 400 watch hours over the past year. So for me, what I do to make that goal happen, because I'm not going to reach 1,000 subscribers overnight, the way to make that goal happen for me is to make it a habit of posting more consistently and make it a habit of working towards that goal. So even if I don't hit I haven't divided like the year into like by this point in the year I need to have this many subscribers in order to be on track for my goal. No, just more making it a habit of I'm going to post regular uploads. So I'm making it a habit of being more active on my YouTube channel to help it grow and to like kind of water that plant so that it sprouts, and that idea.
What a nice analogy. Water that
plant. I think I have 3 other goals, and I'll just touch on them briefly, but I wanted to read more. So I'm a huge bookworm. So I have a goal to read 35 books this year, and I'm actually 2 ahead of schedule. Because I have a little...
when you said that, because I thought, read more. You read so much.
I have the app Goodreads. It allows you can set a year goal of how many books you want to read, and it keeps schedule for you. So it tells you like how many books ahead of schedule you are or not. So I'm 2 currently ahead of schedule. I think I might be 3. But my goal is to read 35 books this year. Anyways. Following that, I wanted to be more active in church. And I'm doing that as well. So I've joined my church's youth group, and I'm very proud of that because that was like really scary because I don't like making friends and socializing. But I did that, and I'm also going to join their tech team, and I think I'm going to run either live sound, like for the sound desk, or be in the like worship drumming band. So I'm just going to like work on actually serving in the service as well, so being more active in my church, which I'm very proud of and excited for. And my last goal, which I am, it's probably like, I don't want to say it's the one I care most about because I care very deeply about the YouTube goal as well, but I am learning languages. So I'm learning Korean, and I just want to get to late intermediate in the Korean language and be able to hold at least like a 15 to 20 minute conversation with a native speaker without any hiccups or troubles to an extensive point.
You're doing really, really well with that. Now, you also have a StudyGram account on Instagram. Yes?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you posted something recently, a dialogue with you and, I don't know if it was an instructor or a friend or something. You were chatting the whole time in Korean.
I did just post, I think that was a couple weeks ago actually, a dialogue with my Korean tutor. I do self-studying through textbooks and just like a whole bunch of media input sources like K-dramas, K-pop, all that stuff. But I do take one-on-one tutored lessons via italki, which is a language tutoring platform. So you can take lessons with either community tutors or professional tutors. The only difference is that professional tutors actually have a degree and they have like a certification in what they're doing versus a community tutor could just be like a native speaker. And there's a bit of a price difference between the two. But I posted a conversation from that, and a little bit is edited, like edited out of the silences or times when I was like thinking about what I wanted to say. But yeah, I did.
And that was pretty amazing. One of my goals as well is languages. I've tried it in the past to study French, and I just failed miserably at that. But the reason I did fail miserably is that I didn't really have a reason to learn it, which is, I've been looking at a lot of YouTube channels that are language oriented, and that's one of the big things. They say you have to be immersed in it and to have a reason to do it. Otherwise, it's just, you will fail for sure. And sorry.
I was going to say, who's a great language YouTuber is Lindy Bots. She's not, this isn't sponsored or like, I've never even met her, but I follow her. She's a great language YouTuber. Her like whole family is like oriented around learning languages. She's South African and currently lives in Singapore, I believe, but she like used to live in Hong Kong. She speaks like 13 languages or something, like crazy like that. But she makes a lot of like study tips and stuff like that. So if you're interested, you should check her out, or anybody else looking to learn languages. She's a great resource, so I would recommend her stuff.
How are you spelling bots?
Botes. And it's Lindy, Lindi. E-I-E.
Botes? Isn't that boats?
Yeah. I'm not sure if that's, I'm not sure which way you pronounce it. I could be butchering it. I apologize if I am. Because when she only says like, "Hi, I'm Lindy" when she introduces herself, so I actually don't know if maybe I just read it wrong.
It's all right, no worries. Well, I'm attempting this year to learn Russian. every time
Don't
I
laugh
say
at yourself.
I laugh
don't.
every time I say that because
Don't
it's
laugh at it.
Girl.
No. Don't laugh at it. I feel like that's invalidating the whole idea, and you shouldn't laugh at it. You're serious.
I know, yeah, you're pretty much right, but it just sounds so lofty. It's like, this year I'm going to build a skyscraper. Like, it's just out there. But I am actually invested in learning it for one of the main reasons is that, and this may come up on future episodes, who knows, but I used to be a figure skater, dance skater, and I still follow many skating social media platforms and things, but there is one upcoming team that I am absolutely enamored with. I think they're phenomenal, this little team. They're very, very young. I think they're 13 now, both of them. They might have just had a birthday, I don't know. They're just teeny tiny. And they're Russian. Their names are Anna Rumak and Gleb Goncharov. I think I'm saying their names right. Who knows? But everything that is posted about them and that they post about themselves pretty much is written in Russian. And I can't understand it. So I'm frequently using like Google Translate to go, what are they saying? But I'm very, very excited about them. I was a huge fan of Scott Moyer and Tessa Virtue, Canadian ice dancers. They were absolutely phenomenal, but they have now retired. And so when I go to watch ice dancing, there's like nothing there that's super exciting. There's a bunch of teams and there's a lot of talent out there, don't get me wrong, but there's nothing that just captivates me. And this little team is so good, and I've been following them for probably a couple of years now, but they're just really, really good. So I want to learn Russian, at least to read it, if not to speak it. My tongue doesn't always do the rolling of the R's things, and I struggle with the saying of it, but at least get to be able to read what's happening there. So I'm very motivated from that point of view to learn it. So Russian, baby. Ruska.
Yeah, we're gonna track our progress and keep ourselves held to that by doing a little excerpt every episode where we teach something to each other, something minimal, can be, or even just talking about what we learned the past week or since the last episode and of what we're focusing on. But I think you were just saying that you didn't know how the speaking process of side of things were going to go, and I just wanted to offer my 2 cents on that if it were to feel natural to you, if it didn't feel unnatural, I would think you were doing it wrong, because it's not a language that any language doesn't, even sister languages like Korean and Japanese or French and Spanish, or like any language that is close to another language, it's not every part of it is going to sound familiar. You're using sounds that you've never said before. There's letters that aren't in the English language, the same way like Korean uses a whole different writing system. The letters are pronounced differently. So if it were to feel natural in your mouth, that's almost a red flag. Like it's not supposed to feel natural because you're making different noises with your mouth. So give yourself some credit and be easy on yourself there, because you're not supposed to sound like you've been speaking Russian since you were born. You're learning it the same way when you hear a little kid in English learning how to speak. They pronounce things wrong when they're really young, right? It's the same way, because we're beginners in a language. You have to think, as much as it might suck, that you're the equivalent right now of like a Russian toddler in the aspect of that's where I am with my language. I can't always express myself the way I want to. I might not pronounce it correctly, but if you keep practicing it, eventually, you'll notice the same way a toddler would, like, maybe I'm not saying that right and I need to correct myself here, and then it just kind of happens naturally. So if you think you're doing it poorly, just keep working on it, and then you'll start to adjust.
Good. Sounds like I'm on track. Because anything I say, you might see me driving down the street and looks like I'm singing in the car, which I'm definitely not doing. Voice is not good. But I might be listening to a Russian podcast or something and trying to repeat words. And oh, it's awful. Spasiba. That's it. Right there.
That's your Russian teaching?
That's my Russian spasiba.
What is spasiba? I don't even know.
I think it means thank you, doesn't it? Spasiba?
Don't ask me. I'm asking you.
I'm pretty sure that's what it means.
Spasiba. for the information.
Nice. And what's your Korean word for the day?
This is my favorite phrase. I taught it to you when we tried to record it the first time, but it's a really simple phrase. It's only 3 syllables, and it in full speed at like full pace. It's 화이팅. But if you slow it down, it's hwa, HWA, hwa yi ting. And it's meant to sound like the English word fighting. That's like what it translates to, 화이팅. But it has the equivalence of meaning you can do it, let's do this, you've got it, I'm rooting for you. So a lot of times, like if you like look at me on my Studygram and I'm talking with other people in the Studygram community, almost all of like the messages end in 화이팅! Because we're all, rooting for each other on our language learning journeys, and we're like, you can do it, you've got this, let's do this, let's go. So it's just a little word of encouragement.
Nice. Okay, then let's, are we done with the language bit?
Yeah, we can be done with the language bit.
That portion of the program. I wanted to go on to something that would be good for anybody who's watching, since this is the first episode, technically. A section
it's the first one that'll air.
Yes, hopefully. Meet the Girls. So this is something I wrote up, a bunch of question and answer things, just so that I can ask you and you can ask me, and we can give some answers so people get to know who we are, who they're dealing with here. So if I may start, what is your favorite TV show?
So, does this include anime?
Yeah.
If you sit
like the TV, what are you watching?
I'm a huge anime lover, so it's really hard because I have like favorite animes, and then I have like favorite TV shows that aren't anime. So I don't know.
One answer.
I feel like I've got 70 answers. I love Sherlock.
You watch too much TV.
I actually don't. I'm typically reading a book. I really like Sherlock. That was a great series. I love How I Met Your Mother. As for animes, I really love Attack on Titan. Parasite was another really good one. I really like horror and like scary stuff, but Supernatural has been one of my favorites since I was in like grade 8, and it's really melodramatic, and I honestly, like, if I were to start it today, like never having watched it, I wouldn't continue. Like, it's not like the same genre I'm into anymore, but I'm just like, so it's 15 seasons long, like I've come this far. Like, yeah, they just finished, the show's done now. I'm very sad, but that's just a show I've been involved in with so long, so that's probably one of my favorites. There you go.
15 seasons. That's got to be one of the longest running shows ever.
Yeah, 2005 was when it started, and it just finished airing this year.
How many episodes?
22 per season.
Wow!
And each episode is 45 minutes too.
I don't think I've ever heard of
that. You've seen Columbo, right?
I love Columbo.
So kind of how, like, in the Aspect Columbo episodes, this is like the structure of them. It's somebody gets murdered at the beginning, right? And then Columbo catches whiff of the case, and then he's working on solving it, and then by the end he's caught the culprit. That's like the general, like, synopsis of a Columbo episode. It's kind of the same thing with Supernatural, is like at the beginning somebody dies of some supernatural related death, and then Sam and Dean catch wind of this case, and then they're trying to figure out what caused it and how to kill it and get rid of this supernatural thing, and then by the end they like work it out. But over the whole overarching season, there's one big thing that they're leading up to killing or destroying, and they're solving like mini cases that's like getting information about what this overarching season plot is. So it's like this like big, it is a soap opera. You have to watch the episodes in order for it to make sense, but the episodes individually are their own like storylines that are focused on smaller cases that like piece together the bigger overarching episodes. It's very good. I personally very much enjoy it.
Nice. And can you get that on like Netflix or something?
It's on Netflix in the US. It's not in the UK. In the UK, I have still not figured out how to watch it. You can buy it on Amazon Prime, but like I said, it's 15 flippin' seasons long, so that would be quite a pricey Amazon Prime buy.
Right. What about some UK shows? What do you watch in the UK that's UK oriented? Since we're across the pond.
Sherlock is UK.
Sherlock.
I honestly don't watch a lot of UK shows.
You were saying something once upon a time about something like an IT thing.
I
Strike a nerve.
So it's this UK show, and I would formally like to apologize ahead of time. If anybody from the UK is listening and likes this show, I sincerely do not mean to offend you. But it's a comedy show called The IT Crowd, and it's a British comedy. And as an American, the humor goes over my head, so I don't think it's funny. But apparently it's very funny to people in England. It's like two guys and a girl, and they're working in IT, and like the guys are like both really, really nerdy. And so I actually have watched probably more of it than I care to admit, because my roommate really likes it. One of my flatmates enjoys it, and so he puts it on like before I go to bed, and I end up watching like one of the episodes, and I don't think I have ever actually laughed at one of those like one of the jokes in it. It's just like I'm kind of sitting there and I'm like, what? I don't get it, but it's supposed to be really funny. It's like, I don't know. I'm not a fan of it, but that's a show of the UK.
Do you ever watch Monty Python?
Yeah, I've seen Monty Python.
No, do you think that's funny?
I've only seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and the one bird skit. He skipped the bucket!
He's bleeding demised.
Gone to meet his maker.
Yeah, right. Is it that kind of comedy?
No, it's kind of dry, like The Office. The camera angles are so weird because it's not documentary style like The Office is, with like the crazy panning and like that stuff. It's not like that. It's kind of more like Friends, like how it's like a set where you're like watching it like that. But they're just like weird angles, and some of it's kind of in the same way like The Office. One of the reasons that's good, like things that is alluring about the show, is it kind of makes you uncomfortable. Oh. Like that's a thing in The Office. It's kind of the same thing with that show, where there's just like these two guys are just like so nerdy that it's just like, I mean, this is coming from a nerd, that it's like it kind of makes me uncomfortable. I just like I'm definitely a nerd, by the way. I don't think that word is an insult, but I'm definitely a nerd. I don't know. It's just not my thing. But I mean, my flatmate really enjoys it, and he thinks it's funny. So obviously, it ran for like 6 seasons, I think. So it did well. It's just not my cup of tea.
I think the Brits, when I'm over there, I certainly watch. There's a load of reality shows. They have like Love Island, which is their.
Oh, my flatmate has one of my other flatmate watches the like teen love stories or whatever, where they match up like teens across England or something like that.
Yeah, those are huge over there.
Yeah, they're really big.
I do enjoy the British game shows. I think the Brits do very good game shows.
Yeah, you really like The Chase.
I love The Chase. I could sit for hours and watch The Chase. I just love that show. I love the pace of it. It's fast, which my mind goes really fast, so that's good. And they also have a show that's good that's called The Cube. That's a game show that's more task-oriented. They have to go inside this big cube and do something. And they only have, some of it's a race against the clock, but other things, it's just like, you have to walk with a blindfold in a certain pattern, and you have to remember which way you walk, kind of thing. It's kind of a mind game. It's very fun. They have a game show called Pointless, which is really stupid. I don't like that one at all.
Pointless?
It is pointless. You have to come up with the worst answer. They poll a bunch of people, and like usually you're trying to get the top 5 answers. You have to get the bottom 5, and you have to get the lowest one on the list. Like, what's the most pointless answer to this?
a common answer that isn't the most common answer.
Yes, exactly. But it has to be common enough to be on the list. If you get some that's not on the list, then you don't get any points at all, or you get
So
out.
it couldn't be like, what's the worst way to die? And you're like jumping out of an airplane to fall in the ocean, but then get mutilated by a shark. Like, because like that wouldn't be on the list, right? Yeah, so that's not a pointless answer.
That's right. It has to be a really stupid game show. A lot of people love it. Simon loves it. Dad loves it. But I'm just like not doing it. But I do enjoy The Chase, so that's good. What about favorite movie? What do you like?
Like I've said before, I'm a huge lover of horror, but actually my favorite movie is Help by the Beatles. The Beatles Help movie.
I love that movie.
That has been my favorite movie since I was a kid. I just love it so much. It's just because I'm an eternal Beatles fan, and Ringo Starr is like my favorite person to ever bless this earth. But
Mm-hmm.
I say I like horror, but I like, even like my top 5 movies, probably none of them would be horror movies. The hard thing about the horror genre, mini rant, is that it's always expected to improve. Like, once you see something, the expectation for the next one needs to be higher, because the scare of the first movie only works once, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen one time. So you're like, yeah, I know there's a jump scare here. It's not scary anymore. Or I've already seen that.
Have you ever seen Jaws?
No.
Maybe from the 1970s?
No, but I know the theme.
If you were to watch it now, you would laugh at it. It's
probably
absurdly silly. Yeah. But the horror factor of that, especially at the time, was just horrific. Like, I couldn't even go in my swimming pool. I was like, oh my God, there's not going to be a shark in your swimming pool. But it was just terrifying at the time. But yeah. You look at it now and it's a giggle.
Well, it's just like, it's like, as soon as something scares you once, like I don't know, just like the idea of The Conjuring or something, where it's like, there's like this possession going on or whatever, like, yeah, you can reuse that idea, but if you keep it very similar to what worked in The Conjuring, like, I mean, it's not going to be as scary because you've already seen it in The Conjuring, so it's not as scary anymore. That's kind of how scaring works. It's scary the first time when you're like, I wasn't expecting that. And then once it's the same, like,
return.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
So
I like musicals. I don't know how we're related.
I enjoy musicals, except for La La Land. But
I didn't like La La Land. It was okay, I guess. I don't know. I would much rather watch a musical than anything else. In fact, the other day I was flipping through the channels and I saw a preview for That's Entertainment, which is a compilation of musicals from MGM it came out in the 1970s, early 70s. And that's a great movie, and it goes all the way back to early sound, 1928, 1929, and I was so excited to see it, and I was also to sit down and watch it, but it was on a pay-per-view channel, and I didn't want to sign up for the subscription. But those kind of movies, life is too hard, especially when you're a parent and you've got your kids and you've got pressures of life and things. I don't want to watch stressful things when I go to the movies. I want to be entertained, thoroughly entertained. But it can be a documentary too. That's good.
It can a documentary. Yeah, I feel the same way. That's like the same reason I don't watch like a lot of either sappy rom-coms or like really sad movies. It's like I mean, not that I've ever cried at a sad movie, because what are emotions? I don't know. But like, I don't want to watch a movie with the intent of being sad. Like,
I know.
What? No. And the romance stuff just doesn't do it for me. So I'm just kind of like, okay. If a character, what can I say? I'm a catch. But if characters get together in a story and it is part of the story, but there's another overarching plot, I'm all for the romance. But if the story is dependent on the romance to continue, not my shebang.
Yeah, a lot of that's pretty predictable too. Boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy fights, boy gets girl back. Live happily ever after. Been there, done that. We've seen that movie before. What's your favorite food?
Ribs.
You've mentioned that before, and I think that's so funny because I've never actually seen you eat a rib.
So here's the thing, but if you eat your favorite food every day of the week, it's just gonna be doled out. I don't think I've had ribs in probably since I was a freshman in high school. Like, it's been that long. But
what's my favorite food?
Salmon.
My favorite food is butt.
What? I said salmon.
Oh, I thought you said butt.
What? I don't even understand how you heard that.
Oh, that's funny. My favorite food is salmon. How often do I eat salmon?
Every day of the freaking week.
And am I sick of it? No.
Well, I do feel that way about porridge. I eat porridge all the stinking time. And I love it. I love it.
You do? Yep. That's the go-to.
You know why I really like it? Is because it takes about 2 seconds to make. And
how expensive is it?
I'm an instant gratification kind of girl. So if I am hungry, I want food right then and there, my friend. I don't want to wait 20 minutes for the oven to heat up just so I can wait another 40 for something to cook. No.
That's right. That's porridge is your ramen. Like most college kids eat ramen.
Very much so.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're probably getting a lot less sodium, so...
My flatmates make fun of me all the time. I walk into the kitchen and they're like, Joan, is it time for porridge? And I'm like, yes. Like, they just, like, absolutely take the piss out on me, like, all the time.
What's your favorite beverage?
Sprite.
Sprite. But you've partaken in some alcoholic beverages, yes?
Yeah, I'm not a big alcohol drinker, like at all. I've had alcohol. It really, honestly, does nothing for me. I think this is why I don't know why, but I'm a very like beverage oriented person. Like I always am drinking something, and I drink things very fast too. Like I am constant. It's like a never-ending joke between all my friends that like as soon as Joan gets a drink in her hands, the floodgates open and she's like gone in 2 seconds. Like I chug like no man's business, and you can't do that with alcohol, obviously, unless you want to get wasted with no memory in the morning. So like I've never done that, and no, I never have gotten that drunk that I don't remember anything. Like I just don't like alcohol that much enough to.
Yeah.
It's just not my thing. I would much rather, I don't enjoy the taste of it. Any fun that you would have while being drunk, you can have while being sober, in my opinion. Yeah, in my opinion, at least. Because I'm an introvert, so I just hang out with people very minimally. So, like, I mean, going to a rave and, like, yeah, it's just not my thing. And I don't know, I enjoy the sweetness. I love carbonated things, like sparkling water, like Sprites and stuff like that. I just like that carbonation taste. So I just like wine and spirits and all that stuff just isn't my thing.
Not so much.
Yeah.
I'm a tea drinker. I drink tea. I don't drink coffee at all. And I can nurse this baby all day long. I got this at 9 a.m. It's 10 after 3 and it's still not gone.
That's crazy. Mine's gone by the time before we even get home from Starbucks. Like I chug.
Yeah. Nope. Green tea. Drink it all day long. Suck it down. Where's your favorite restaurant? Where do you like to go out for a nice meal?
I don't think I eat out frequently enough to have a favorite restaurant. Oh, I enjoy Byron's.
Byron's is good. That's a
and
British
Byron's is very I can't speak. Byron's is very allergy safe.
Yes,
because I have a life-threatening nut allergy, and that's what I say the UK does better than the US. Is most restaurants out here have an on-hand, like at site, available allergen menu, which a lot of places. I don't know if maybe the US has upped their game since I left, but a lot of places you couldn't go into and like getting an allergy menu like. But as soon as you walk into Byron's, it's like the first question, like, do you have any allergies?
Yeah, that's great. And their burgers are stellar. I'm not a huge burger fan. I eat a ton of burgers, but if you mention Byron's, like my mouth gets all watery and I think, oh yes, please. Why are their burgers so good there? I don't know.
I don't know.
They're just great. The other place that's great that you guys have that we don't is Nando's.
Nando's is very good.
I love Nando's. That's chicken
place. Nando's, though, I couldn't have... I don't even know if I could have it once a week. Like, I can't have it that frequently. I just... The flavor... I mean, I'm not really a wing person. I'm definitely more of a burger person, so...
Yeah, they have great chicken there. They're mainly chicken. South African, and it's yummy. It is so good. I love it. All right. Restaurant versus fast food. What's your favorite fast food?
Burger King.
That's a fast answer.
Though, my flatmates and my friends back home, like, a lot of my close friends, it was, like, a very reoccurring thing for us to do was going and getting boba. So, I don't know if that qualifies as a fast food, but I just would like to offer it up to the Rennings. When I was back home, my best friend and I would either get boba or smoothies. Those were like our two, because I'm a beverage person, like I've said. So we would go to beverage places, like a smoothie shop or something, and my flatmate here and I always get boba.
Nice. Boba tea. What is your favorite childhood memory?
I don't like this question. I don't really have one.
I think you mentioned once before drumming.
Yeah, I don't really have any specific related memory, but just like anytime, I'm a drummer, so anytime I loved my drum teacher growing up. He was just like absolutely awesome, so I just loved any lesson I had with him. Which, speaking of drumming, my wrist, I think it's sprained, but it's in a little...
Is that feeling any better?
It was yesterday, but today it's in a lot of pain. I'm just going to keep it on for like the next week or so and see how it does. I was trying to sleep with it on just so I didn't like smack my hand or something, but the past 2 nights I've woken up and it's been so tight that I haven't been able to feel my thumb, so we're going to try not doing that. So we'll see how it goes.
I have a childhood memory that I zoom back on, and that was a night that we bought a new house, and it was a farm actually, and we were going to have horses and chickens and cows and all sorts of things. It was great, and my brother and sister got to see the house before we moved there, but I was skating a lot. I was at the rink a lot, and didn't get to see it until the night we actually got the keys to the house. And we moved in I think it was March, it was spring, and it was Phoenix, and things were blooming. Everything was blooming. And we got to the house and it was dark outside, and we opened up the back doors and walked out to this huge backyard. It was acres. It was really, really big. And there were honeysuckle bushes there, and they were all in bloom. And I couldn't really see anything. It was dark, but I was just overtaken by the smell of honeysuckle. And opening that, it's the first time I'd really smelled anything, certainly that pungent. That strong.
I thought you were just going to end there. That was the first time I've ever smelt anything, ever.
Anything, ever. I was 7 years old. Nothing up until that time. No, it was so pungent that any time right now that I smell honeysuckle, it just throws me right back in time to that day. And it's
Who's talking in the background of your thing?
I think we're having some furniture replaced. Sorry about that. Can't control it.
I was just curious, sorry.
That's okay. Who's your favorite actor or actress? Either one. If they're in it, you're going to see it.
I think I don't follow a ton of actors very closely because I actually don't watch a lot of movies and TV shows like regularly. But the closest one I have would be Benedict Cumberbatch. Like, if Benedict Cumberbatch is in it, I'll likely want to watch it. I really love his work.
What about Mads Mikkelsen?
Oh, yes. I love Mads Mikkelsen, too. He's great at playing antagonists. He's Hannibal Lecter in Hannibal, and that show is just fantastic.
He's very good at that. Yeah, he's very good at that.
But also, I only, like, recently... have become, I don't want to say become infatuated with him, like that sounds weird. I don't know, like noticed that I have enjoyed his works, so I actually haven't seen most of Mads Mikkelsen's works. I saw him in Doctor Strange with Benedict Cumberbatch, and of course I've seen him in Hannibal, and he's just been recast as Grindelwald in Fantastic Beasts, so I'm very excited to see him in that. I'm very excited to see him in that.
Yeah, you were talking about him being in something, and I was, what was he going to be in? That's right.
Yeah, I was bummed to see that Johnny Depp left because I think he played the role of Grindelwald very well. But I think if anybody will also play it as equally just as well, Mads Mikkelsen will. That will not have been a bad transition. Those two actors are both fantastic, so.
Yeah, he'll pick up right where the other one left off. I feel that way about Eddie Redmayne. I think his work is so good. And you talk about Fantastic Beasts. I think he's wasted on that role. He's a really, really good actor. And when you see him in a little bit meatier roles, it's quite impressive. I first saw him in Pillars of the Earth back in 2010, 2009, something like that. And he was so good in that role. And that was like a mini series. It had like 7 or 8 episodes, something like that. And the very first one, he was in it, and I'd never seen him before. And I remember pausing the TV, and I ran over to IMDb to find out who is this guy and what is he doing. And he had just won a Tony at that time. Um, but he was so good. The first episode, he was playing like a not really a mute, but he was not speaking in the first episode, and he was just expressing himself, and you knew what he was thinking and saying and all that. And I just thought he did it so well. He's a really, really good actor, although he's really bad at running. If you ever see Eddie Redmayne run, in fact,
In like a
Google it.
movie, or just like
Yeah.
in general?
Anything. I don't really see him running down the street, but if you ever see him run, he's a really bad runner, a profoundly bad runner. It's almost comical.
You want
So
to know something very funny? In Supernatural, the guy who plays Sam is Jared Padalecki. That's the actor's name, and he's great. I think he's like 6'4". He's a giant, but he's got like
To us.
really he's got like really broad shoulders, so he kind of looks like a triangle, like kind of like a swimmer's body. And in season 15, they did a shot of him running down the street, and I don't think in all 15 seasons of Supernatural I have ever seen a full body shot of Jared Padalecki running, because it was hilarious. I don't mean to like laugh
Distracting,
at
right?
him. I watched it, like I played it back like 5 times. I was just enjoying it so much. I was like, I've never seen Jared Padalecki run in Supernatural in a full body shot, like all 6'4" of him chucking it down the street. Yeah, I thought it was
Like
very
too
funny.
many limbs to control. Yeah, I think that's funny. I also, actor-wise, I enjoy Ray Fiennes a lot, and if he's in it, I will watch it, and I really don't care what it is. He's so good, and obviously he plays Voldemort, which is a waste of his talents yet again. But he's.
Are you kidding me? He was great as Voldemort. I thought he did very well in that role.
I think that role is a very one-dimensional role. He's angry the whole time, and there's nothing more to it. And can you be angry? Yeah, watch. I can be angry. I like to see people really stretch. I thought he was so good in Quiz Show, which is one of my favorite movies. I mean, he played, the romantic, handsome man lead to the complex, introspective, quiet man to somebody who's really fighting with what he did to himself and downright angry. I mean, he had a huge range of emotion in that role. He was great. He was in Wuthering Heights. He was very, very good. And I really, really enjoy Ray Fiennes. He's all good. Capricorn, both of those men, just saying. Who's your favorite artist or band? The Beatles, right?
Yeah, the Beatles are probably my top over time. 5 Seconds of Summer is a really high-ranking one. I've liked them. I've been an active follower of them since 2015, so 6 or 7 years now.
An
Yeah, really long time.
underrated band. Yes.
Yeah.
I love 5 Seconds of Summer. Great band. Who else?
What about you? Just like
Well-
favorite bands in general?
Yeah. Music.
Rock and like pop, I really love. Well, the 5 Seconds of Summer, I really like Green Day. When it comes to more metal-ish groups, I really like Machine Head. I like Ginger. They're a Ukrainian metalcore group. I enjoy them. I enjoy Beartooth. I really like K-pop, so can't miss our friends BTS. I love BTS, and NCT are 2 of my top groups, like K-pop groups. And I also really like classical music. And I can't forget Cavetown. I love Cavetown so much. He's like a soft, I don't want to say indie. Indie doesn't really encompass all that he does. He's soft. It's very like kind of like lo-fi. It's songwriter, I think, is like how I'd really describe it. That kind of niche. His official genre that he classifies himself in is bedroom, is so that you can, the idea of the bedroom genre is that you could turn out your lights in your bedroom and listen to it, and it would be like a relaxing song at night. I think that fits him very well, but I learned a lot of production through Cavetown's music, so I really enjoy his stuff too.
Yeah, Cavetown's great. I've seen him twice in concert because of you, and thoroughly enjoyed both of those. They were great. His music's really, really good. It's a bit too lo-fi for me. At some point, I go, okay, pick up the beat. I love Elton John. No secret to anybody who knows me. He's the bomb. Love the Beatles. Love Green Day. I also enjoy old 70s, like glam rock, if you will. ABBA, something like that. I just, ELO. I was in the store the other day and ELO came on. I don't know, probably Barnes and Noble if I know me, but, and I just thought, oh man, I forgot how good that band was back in the day. Kind of stuff. But I was also at a Starbucks yesterday and I heard some, it almost sounded like some Caribbean music. And I Shazammed it and brought it on. It was some guy, and I don't know what language he was speaking. It was some Hispanic tongue, but I'm not 100% sure what it was. But it was great. Kind of.
You know, a very underrated music genre.
What's that?
And I actually, like, me and my friends at the conservatory I used to go to used to, like, poke fun at this, because, like, nobody really listens to it a lot, like, as, like, their main genre. But it's has a very historical root to it. Is not classical music, but Gregorian chant. That's like where music like really heartily stemmed from, like early days of recorded music, or not recorded music, but like evidence of music being notated in some form. And it's, you know, well, it sounds exactly like what it is, Gregorian chant. It's like a whole bunch of like low drone noises, like like stuff, and it's got like, you know, bending pitches and stuff like that, but it's so relaxing. And there's one Gregorian chant song that we were listening to in my contextual studies class, and it was so good that I Shazammed it and saved it to my playlist. I was like, this is just so good. And then my teacher stopped the video and he was like, that was Gregorian chant. And I was like, amen, it was. Yes, Gregorian chant. Let's go. So, I always, like, poked fun about it with, like, friends when I was in music theory class, because we were like, hey, you gotta hit them with some, like, good Gregorian chant there, but, because, like, who's like, what's your favorite music genre? And you're like, Gregorian chant. Like, nobody says that. But it's soothing. That's what it is to me. It's right up there with, like, classical music. I really like instrumentals.
Y'all wondering what to get her for Christmas?
What?
Gregorian chant.
I don't know if they have any CDs.
You never know what's out there. I remember I got a CD one time that was it was called Pachelbel's Greatest Hit. And hit.
Was it Yeah, Pachelbel's Canon in D?
It was just the Canon in D, and it was probably 12 or 15 different versions of it. It was great, and that's all that it was.
I love it. I'm there for it.
Hit. Yeah, one
I get to ask the next question, because it's one that you didn't put on your book, on your thing, and I wish you did. But if we were talking about favorite movies, then you also have to talk about your favorite book.
What's your favorite book?
No, I'm asking you, what's your favorite book? Then I'll talk about mine.
If I read a book, it's probably a biography or an autobiography, and I've read many of those. One of my absolute favorites was... believe it or not, I really enjoyed Wayne Newton's autobiography. I don't know anything about Wayne Newton. I thought Debbie Reynolds wrote a great one. There was a really, really good bio on Buster Keaton, and I love Buster Keaton. I love watching silent movies. I sit down and watch silent movies all day long. And I
feel like the silent movies fits with your misophonia or whatever it's called. That's actually kind of a cool idea. Yeah, we talk about that in, I think, episode 3, but continue.
Yeah. I do like Charlie Chaplin, how can you not? But I felt like he was famous for a character, and once he wasn't that character, was he as valid of an actor? No. You have to say no to that. I'm a much bigger fan of Buster Keaton, and I loved him. And yes, you could say, he's always the stone face, but he plays many different characters, Buster Keaton. And he was a genius because he also was a writer and a director and got involved with the editing. And he was the full package. And he had a tragic, tragic life. A lot of it was self-inflicted because he made a lot of mistakes. But his autobiography was terrible because he had a lot of pain in his life, and he chose to leave all of it out of his autobiography. So
probably for good reason. I don't think anybody likes addressing their pain.
Yeah, he fell to alcoholism and lost his money and lost his wife, and she divorced him and took his kids, and it was awful. But Rudy Blesh wrote a biography on Buster Keaton that was fantastic, and I had that book and lost it in a move, which was a sad thing, but that was a great book. And I also loved By Myself by Lauren Bacall. that was fantastic. I read that book like 4 times, and it was really, really fun. That was a book that you would read and you felt like you were right there at Warner Brothers Studios in the 1930s and 40s, and it was fantastic. And the other one that did that as well, I would have to say would have been Gloria Swanson. Wrote an autobiography that was called Swanson by Swanson, and I felt like I was in her bungalow in the 1920s in Hollywood. I felt like I was right there on La Cienega Boulevard with her. I find those kind of bios, like, I know you talk all the time about just getting so involved in a novel that you're there with the character, and I love biographies that just put me in people's lives and experience of them. So it could be a bio, it could be an autobiography. It really depends on, like the Buster Keaton thing. The bio was way better than the autobiography. But yeah, and I also love any biography that would have to do with the British royal family. And I love studying the monarchy, and not just the House of Windsor, but going all the way back to the Plantagenets. And the Tudors are really fascinating. So I'll read lots of those.
I find it interesting that you like biographies so much for, like, I mean, I don't know if you consider yourself to be an empath, but I consider you to be an empath. And I just think it's very interesting that you like biographies as an empath, because it's like you're putting yourselves in their shoes, which is the very characteristic thing for an empath. Like, it makes sense. Oh. Versus, like, somebody like me, I think I've read one biography my entire life. And they don't do much for me. But it doesn't surprise me that they do a ton for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
How about your books?
Oh, we all know the answer to this question. What is Joan's favorite book? Well, it's sitting right up there, buckaroos. Oh, yeah, here it is. Shatter Me by Tahira Mafi. Oh, this is a whole series. And I'm going to go on a little mini rant here because I adore it. So it's a trilogy. It's a trilogy. And then Tahira Mafi finished the trilogy. I finished it along with her. And then she came out a year later and was like, guys, what if I kept writing more? And we were like, do it! So she came out with another 3 books and 4 novellas for the series. So it's just this, like, fantastic. I would really honestly categorize it as young adult fantasy. It's dystopian, but it's also very romance oriented. It's very romance heavy, which is something I wouldn't expect myself to enjoy. But the character development throughout the entire series is just, like, unworldly. I have never been so attached to a character as much as I'm attached to Warner. Like, oh my god, the amount of tears. I know. I've never shut up about him.
Yeah, the amount I've gotten texts going, you know what Warner did?
The amount of times this is something I hate to admit, but the amount of times I've held one of these books and had tears rolling down my face because I was so upset or frustrating about something, it's insane. This book series, it just, like, messes me up. So let me just talk about a little bit stylistically why I like this book, because it's a very controversial series. Not in, like, controversial, like it crosses any lines or anything like that, just, like, in how well received it is and how well liked it is. I feel like anybody who I know that likes this series loves it, or they just did not like it at all and couldn't even finish it because they didn't like it. And it's from the first person's perspective from the protagonist, the girl named Juliet, and it starts with her in an insane asylum. And she has a lethal touch. So anytime she touches somebody, skin to skin, she causes them immense pain to the point where, like, she could potentially kill them in extreme cases because, like, the pain is so extreme. So she's been locked up in an insane asylum, and you're reading from first-person perspective what is supposed to be her journal. And she's, like, so, like, removed from the world because she, like, feels like she's just, like, absolutely damaged everything, that there's strikeouts throughout the novel, like, where texts and words are actually crossed out in the story because she's, like, doubting herself, and so she crosses it out. But the whole first trilogy, because there's 6 books now, so the first 3 when it was originally just a trilogy. They're all from Juliet's perspective. And she has this massive character development because she doesn't obviously stay in the asylum forever. So she like moves out, and then there's like a big movement and all this stuff. But she grows and during that time, obviously, and slowly throughout the book series, she stops crossing things out. And she like, you know, is coming to herself. And then there's a love triangle, which is why I say it's very romance oriented, because there is a love triangle. But it makes sense in the aspect of her character. When she's with each respective person, it reflects how she is in like her headspace. Like there's a point in time when she's like really, really vulnerable. So she gets with this person, the one of the love triangle people, and they're a very comforting character. And it's like, I'm here to soothe you and like, you know, keep watch over you and make sure you're safe. And then she gets to a point where she's like, I can stand up for myself. And so she's with the person that's like more, that's like, you can do it yourself, you're independent kind of thing. And I just think everything done in that novel, it's very reflective on how the characters feel in that moment, and you can see it long term across the entire thing. And the novellas are in different perspectives from Juliet's, and then in books 4, 5, and 6 the perspective changes from between characters, and Tahira Mafi does a great job of making them sound like different writers. When Warner has a perspective novel, it's still in first person. And when Kenji has one, that's still in first person. And Juliet has one and it's first person. But when Warner's writing, it doesn't sound like Juliet in the slightest. It sounds so different. And I think it's just so well written. And I just absolutely understand everything that Mafi was going for in it. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm so attached to it. So it hurts when people are like, I can't stand the strikeouts. They're so frustrating and annoying. And I'm like, no, you're not getting it. But I love this series so much. Warner, I am so attached to him. He's my same Meyer-Briggs personality type, and it just like gives me the biggest sense of relief and pride that I texted you. I don't even remember what time it was. And I was like, oh my God, Warner's an INTJ!
I'm like, he's a fictional character.
Oh my God, don't even go there. That's like the biggest insult. You know what? I'm actually really mad at Tahira Mafi because she made my expectations way too high. If somebody is not Warner, I don't want them. That's just the end of the statement. Though, something that's really cool, this being my favorite series, I've been following it since it was being published, back when Mafi was like, hey, what if I wrote more of this series and all this stuff? And the last book in the series of the 6 is called Imagine Me, and I actually got a signed first edition. So I have her signature in the 6th book.
You do?
Yeah. So it came out before lockdown. And then lockdown happened and all these bookstores closed. And right before I left for college, me and my best friend back home were spending a day up just like shopping and hanging out. And we went to a bookstore and I found it, and it was a signed first edition that the bookstore had. But they hadn't sold out of them because the bookstore had been closed because of COVID. So they still had all the signed first editions because nobody had been able to buy them because the bookstore had been closed. And I was like, I can't spend any money when I went out that day. And I was like, I don't care. It's a signed first edition. This is a special circumstance. And I bought it right then and there.
That's so cool.
I have a signed first edition.
Was that Tattered Cover bookstore?
I don't remember. It was in Denver.
Wow, what a great find.
Yeah, I know. I literally... my best friend doesn't know this series at all, and I was like, I can't verbally express how cool this is. Oh my God, I have a signed first edition! Yeah. There's very little things that I geek out or freak out about like that, and that was one of the moments. I feel like all flustered talking about it.
No, you look fine. Well, let's end on that note, because that was a really good high.
I'm sure everybody that has never heard of that series ever in the history of ever has already clicked off. I'm so sorry. I just need to bring Warner into every part of my life. It's honestly kind of bad and dangerous at this point. I can't stop thinking about him, and he's fictional. Like it.
No, if they were going to click off, it would have been during the astrology section.
Oh, that is very true. We'll have to look at our retention rate.
Yeah, it's all good. Okay, so that is it for our first episode of Gosh Cross Pond. Hope you enjoyed.
Thanks for sticking with us and listening to us, whether you're listening on Spotify, any other podcast streaming apps, or if you're joining us visually on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, be sure to follow us, like us. We have an Instagram page and a Facebook page, both of which are Girls Across the Pond. And if you follow us on there, be sure to tell us what your favorite book series is, what your favorite movie is, any of the answers to the questions. Let us know what your zodiac sign is. We would love to interact with you. We'd love to hear your input, what you're thinking of the podcast, and join the conversation.
Absolutely. She's better at signing off than I am, so I'll just say, yeah, that.
So we'll see you in our next episode, which has already been pre-recorded.
We have so much coming down the pipeline. It's really cool. So
that's really exciting.
Come back. Join us
All right. We'll see you in our next episode. Bye.